Page 50, How I Love the Lord. I did not cover anything prior to page 50 in this book because it's teaching you how to read music and how to count and all that. I leave it up to you to go cover all that on your own. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask me. I am going to cover all this stuff as we go through these pieces. I'm just not doing it by talking about those pages is all. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that'll teach you how to read music if you need more help on that. I want to talk about this piece first. There's certain things you look for when you're looking at a piece of music. And every symbol is important. So it's important that you know what each one is. For instance, you notice there's two stabs. The stab is those 5 lines, and there's 2 of those groups of 5 lines. And they're grouped with a vertical line connecting them. That means you're going to play them at the same time. They go at the same time that vertical line does. And that has that curly brace in front of it, and that signifies it's a grand staff. Generally, that's what keyboard instruments use, is a grand staff. Now, the top staff has a treble clef, that curly thing, The bottom staff has the bass clef, and the pages prior to this in the book explain all about those wonderful. They're important, but keep in mind they don't have to be that way. You can have treble clef in both of these stabs, or bass clef in both of these stabs, or they can change. Anything can happen here. But for the most part, most of the time, this is the way it is. Now, the numbers 4-4, simply telling you how far you have to count. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And the bottom number is telling you what you're counting. 4 means quarter note, 1/4, or a quarter note. It's not a quarter of a note, it's just a quarter note. I know, it makes a lot of sense. Now, it has an MF in the middle. That stands for mezzo forte, or medium loud, or as I put it, sort of loud. And I can't tell you how loud that is, unfortunately, because it's different for different situations. You'll have to decide how loud these things are going to be for you. Right above the staff, they have moderately slow. Tells you how fast to go. Again, I can't tell you how fast moderately slow is. It's a range of speeds, and it's up to, would you feel fairly slow, sort of slow, moderately slow? I don't know. And then in red, they have an RH. That means right hand, and it's in red because it's not part of the music. Normally, you won't get an RH or left LH or whatever in the music. It's just up to you to know which hand to use, and over time you'll get the idea of which hand to use. Next to the RH there's a 1. Number 1, that's your finger number. It's telling you which finger in the right hand to use to play that first note, and that first note is a middle C. You already know the notes. You really need to know the names of the notes on the staffs in the music, and the names of the keys on the keyboard, or we're going to be lost, because I refer to these. So go back through the book and learn these. I don't know of an easy way to learn them. You just kind of memorize them, and in time you're going to use them so much you will learn them. But that first note here in this piece for the right hand thumb is middle C. It's not middle C because it's in the middle of the keyboard, because it's not in the middle of the keyboard. It's near it, but it's not in the middle. It's middle C because it's in the middle between the stabs. I'll talk more about that a little later. So if I put my thumb on the C, if I put all the other fingers on the notes or the keys next to it, that's where my hand goes to start. Now they give you a picture of a keyboard here, and they're giving you the numbers and the key names and all that to tell you where the hands go. I don't like those, so I'm going to use the music. And the way I do it is I look at the beginning of the music and which finger number they're telling me, and I use that finger number, and then I put the rest of the fingers on the keys around it, and that's it. For instance, in the second line, the notes are on the bottom staff. Well, the first note's a G, and you put your thumb on your left hand on that G. So here, if I do that, I put the other fingers on the notes next to it. That's where the hand goes. Now, both of these hands in this position, the bottom note is a C, so we call it C position. They don't both have to be the same position. I can have a C position in one hand and a G position in another, or whatever. Anything goes here too. Anything goes everywhere in music. But that's where we're starting at. Now, counting wise, you know a half note gets 2 counts. We're going to count quarter notes because the bottom 4 is what you're counting, quarter notes. So a half note is 2 quarter notes, same as it. So it's going to be, at the beginning, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hold that half note down for 2 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the next measure, I got quarter notes, a couple. So each one gets 1 count. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, that half note gets 2 counts. I got to hold it down. And if you check each of these measures, you'll find there's the equivalent of 4 quarter notes in every measure. Has to be because it's in 4/4 time. So we have the half note gets 2 counts, the quarter note gets 1 count, and if you look at the last measure on the first line, it's a whole note that gets 4 counts. It's the same as 4 quarter notes. You're just holding it down for 4 counts. Now you say, what's a measure? A measure, also known as a bar, is the distance between those vertical lines you see go occasionally in the music. That distance between them is a measure. Those lines are called measure lines or bar lines. So sometimes we say, well, the 3rd bar over. Well, that's the same as the 3rd measure over. And sometimes we say it's a measure line, and sometimes we say it's a bar line, and you'll just have to do your best to keep up, I guess. That's the way it is. Now, that's the way this works. Now, you look at the end of the 2nd line, and you see a thin and a thick bar line with 2 dots for each staff. That's called a repeat sign. That simply means go back to the beginning and play it again, which we're going to do. We'll do that. So what I would like to do is play this with you slowly, and I'll count it out loud as best I can, and have you play it with me. The idea is, are you playing the same note I'm playing, and are you playing it at the same time I'm playing it? So we can check your notes and your rhythms to make sure you're correct on those. Now you'll notice the first line is just the right hand. All the notes are in the upper staff. That's fine. The 2nd line, all the notes are in the lower staff, so the left hand's going to play. But I recommend you keep both hands on the keyboard throughout the whole thing. That's just good technique if you can. Later on, we'll say something different, but for right now, both hands up. So I'm going to count us in with 4 counts, and then we're going to play this. For instance, I'm going to go 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And we're going to play the whole thing, and we're going to repeat it. So let's try that and see what happens. So go ahead and put your hands in C position, both of them, here. There we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Repeat. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. Now at the bottom of the page there's a duet part. This is for the teacher. So what we'll do is you play what you just played, and I'll pretend to be the teacher and play this part at the bottom, and we can have a duet. I can't hear you, but you'll be able to hear both parts. So what you need to do here is be careful. You gotta pay attention to what you're doing, but you gotta listen to me to stay with me. So don't let me throw you, because we may not be doing the same thing. So watch out. And we are going to repeat this. So go ahead and put your hands in C position here. I'll count us in. Now, you get the first two measures by yourself. So I'm going to lightly play them with you, and then I come in on the third measure over, where you have the 4 quarter notes. That's where I officially start. And that's where I'm going to start playing up here. So I'll play the first two measures with you, but after that, I'm going to play the duet part. So go ahead and put your hands in C position. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Repeat. 2, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.